of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon, I'm Arden McLeod, and this is your news at 3:30. The City of Vancouver announced temporary changes to city bylaws that will take effect during the FIFA 2026 World Cup. Changes include blocking unauthorized commercial advertising, limiting street vendors' performances, and loosening restrictions around noise levels. The changes will be in place during the 2-month period Vancouver is hosting the World Cup, and the city says the changes will not impact political expression or the right to lawful protest. Shots were fired at a Surrey home where a woman has been taken to hospital. Police reportedly responded to shots fired in the 12100 block in Surrey. They say the woman suffered non-life-threatening injuries and no one else in the home was hurt. Grizzly bear encounters are spiking in Bella Coola, a remote coastal community in BC, according to residents. Resident Corey Van Andel says after 4 years of living in Bella Coola, he has now seen bears break into houses, which would not happen in years prior. The discussion comes up after a grizzly bear attacked a group of students and teachers in the area. Residents have reported an increase in encounters, but the BC government reports overall encounters with grizzlies across BC have been stable. Winter weather is coming early. Forecasters are warning southeastern BC of snowfall. Environment Canada is estimating that the Fernie area will see around 20 centimeters before it slows down tonight. Drivers should allow for extra time given that potentially hazardous road conditions. Southern Alberta and Saskatchewan have also been issued snowfall warnings. BC is still dealing with thousands of nursing vacancies, and new nurses say they're feeling the pressure as soon as they enter the workforce. Quinlan Curry has more from a BC nursing student working in a Lower Mainland healthcare facility.
As British Columbia looks to fill thousands of vacant nursing positions, young nurses are already carrying a heavy workload at the bedside. Nathan O., a BC nursing student working in a Lower Mainland healthcare facility, says the day-to-day reality goes far beyond charts and medication rounds.
Just everything that you see on a daily basis, you're in touch with all sorts of diseases, you're in touch with injuries and death. It could be every day. And just dealing with that, you really have to find your own way to cope. And it's different for everyone.
Healthcare groups say support for mental health, mentorship, and safe staffing will be critical to prevent burnout and keep new nurses in the profession. Quinlan Curry, BCIT News.
Healthcare in BC is not alone in an industry facing challenges. On Saturday, moments before Alberta's Union of Provincial Employees hit picket lines, the union, which represents 16,000 hospital workers, reached a tentative agreement with Alberta's Health Authority. The agreement includes a 12% wage increase over 4 years, with market adjustments for licensed practical nurses and hospital aides. The union says members will take around 3 days to vote on the deal. The Canadian Cancer Society reports that prostate cancer is extremely common. 1 in 8 men in Canada suffer from it in their lives, yet a stigma still exists around it. But as Aidan Singh reports, support workers are challenging the old ways.
Austin Zimmer is a support manager with the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Canada, and he's heard all the jokes imaginable. But as research shows that an average of 14 men succumb to the disease every day, Zimmer feels that changing the dialogue around the illness is critical.
And that's part of where we're breaking that stigma. Because a lot of times men are pretty adverse to doing that because they don't want to, right? It's the biggest joke ever about the finger in the bum. About realizing that there's a blood test, and now there's another blood test, and pretty soon they're going to be able to have an ultrasound test. Things are moving in a direction where it's no longer that inconvenient.
Zimmer says any person over the age of 50 should get tested, as early detection leads to a near 100% survival rate. Aidan Singh, BCIT News.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is facing criticism for saying Canada does not have a, quote, feminist foreign policy. MP Leah Gazan of the NDPs shared her thoughts on Carney's comments.
His lack of funding in sexual and reproductive health, his back turning on shelters across the country. I think our Prime Minister Carney, is making it very clear he is no friend to women and he is no friend to gender equality in this country.
Mona Fortier, Liberal MP and Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, insists that Canada is committed to gender equality and the battle against sexual violence. Criticism of Prime Minister Mark Carney continued talks with U.S. President Donald Trump is beginning to heat up. Carney said, "Who cares?" when asked by reporters about the last time he spoke with Trump. Liberal MP Ben Carr says Carney is acting in Canada's best interest.
The relationship with the Americans remains incredibly important, but there are other initiatives that the Prime Minister has to undertake as well. So I think we can look for little things to try to expose challenges in the relationship, but I think what he's doing right now is what's in the best interest of Canada, and that's diversifying trade.
The right of the press and public to speak freely is being fought for by the Associated Press, according to its executive editor. The Associated Press is an illegal battle with the White House. The organization's choice on what to call the Gulf of Mexico, which is called the Gulf of America by the current U.S. administration, has led to the U.S. government blocking it from covering presidential events. Julie Pace of the Associated Press says that journalists are being targeted because the government does not like their reporting, and this case could have broader implications for freedom of speech in the U.S. Former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James had their criminal case dismissed ahead of a federal judge today. The judge based their ruling on the conclusion that the charges were brought forward by a prosecutor that was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. Looking overseas, the pending peace deal between Russia and the Ukraine has seen some changes. After discussions between the U.S. and Ukraine took place in Geneva, a new peace plan has been proposed. The previous plan had 28 points. This one has 19. The reduction includes some points that were considered contentious, such as Ukraine capping the size of its military or giving up land to Russia. ABC reporter Marcus Moore has the story.
One of the big concerns that Europeans have in particular is that under those terms, Ukraine would be left vulnerable. And they're thinking about the long term here and what would happen if Russia tried to attack Ukraine or invade Ukraine again.
As the World Cup comes to town, the BC Lions will host their games against the Edmonton Elks and the Calgary Stampeders in Kelowna, BC next season. The Kelowna venue, the Apple Bowl, will be expanded to 17,500 seats for the two games. Chauncey Billups, head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, pleaded not guilty in a rigged poker games case. In New York City, Billups was arraigned in federal court on Monday. Billups was one of more than 30 people charged in a federal takedown of illegal gambling operations within professional sports. Previously, on October 23rd, Billups had denied the charges in Oregon. According to a source with knowledge of the decision, the New York Giants have fired defensive coordinator Shane Bowen. The move comes after the team lost its sixth game in a row, dropping to 2-10 on the year. Warren Schaefer was appointed to full-time manager of the Colorado Rockies. He was promoted from his previous position of interim manager. After 10 years with the organization, Schaefer is now the 8th full-time manager in club history. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says he regrets supporting sports betting in the first place. The second-term Republican said he now wishes he had not signed the 2021 law that brought the industry's advertising spending to his state, in an interview with the Associated Press. And looking ahead at the weather this week, today it will continue raining through the night. Tomorrow will continue showers as well. Wednesday we will have clouds and showers will resume on Thursday. This weekend we might avoid the rain as Saturday and Sunday are looking partly cloudy. Thank you for tuning in to your news at 3:30. I'm Arden McLeod.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
When I tell people that I studied journalism, they immediately say, oh, you want to be a reporter. But I think, in my case personally, I really want to go into magazines, PR, social media. And I think here at school we learn a lot of skills that allow you to go into that world, because you learn how to write for social media, social content, for websites,